Leto, Monticelli, and Allen head-to-head, second semifinal. And Leto has been, as we see his native country, Venezuela, dealing with tremendous emotion because of the nationwide strike and all of the emotional turmoil resulting. Great start.
And just another trip for Amleto. Chronic hand problems, is using this new tape made by Vice Inserts, and it replaces the old skin patch. Remember, you put skin patch on an open wound, man, you got that ether and that alcohol there, just burning. Oh my God. Well, now we can put this tape on, this protective tape, and it's like having a second skin, man. You don't even feel it. When you take it off, there's no residue. It's beautiful.
Back to Allen. Good start for him. 233 average, a 10-7 match play mark for Allen. Part of his numbers this week.
Amleto Monticelli averaged 242, which is a huge average. On the TV pair, averaged 244. When you're averaging that high, you're not shooting a whole lot of spares.
First TV show of the year for Allen. He's won over $26,000 on tour this year. Change all that. A take on 40 if he keeps that up with a big strike.
And speaking of high scores, always high scores in Erie, PA. Eastway Lanes, but Showboat #2 tied with Mechanicsburg. And remember, we've been coming here for 40 years. Now, this is just the 90s. I actually made my first 7-10 split ever here in this building.
This building. Back to Amleto. 7-10 split, trips out the 10, indeed. Gets them both and a strike.
Well, it's a replay of the Lonnie Wallachek strike in the earlier match. And watch the pin action. The head pin is going to get slapped silly. Wow. You think Amleto likes that? He say, "Give it to me one time."
Good exit.
Thank you.
Double for each to start. They're all even. That intricate stat we saw a moment ago as Elvis watches closely. Great research and incredible work all season long from Russ Toohey, Jen Casey, Beth Marshall, the entire PBA media staff. And our television services director, Dave Schroeder. All incredible work, and we thank you. That is Brendan Paul, not Elvis, but looks like him. I mean, it's pretty close, right? You've seen a lot of impersonators.
Well, not a lot. I've seen a couple, but yeah, he looks good.
Glad to have presence of the king. Hey, we were in Memphis and we saw Graceland. You weren't on that tour with us that morning.
I did not make that trip.
Earlier in the year, tour stop won by Brian Voss. And Leto's other TV show in Kansas City. That's it. Second TV appearance of the year. 7-pin for him. How did Amleto Monticelli get this far? 3-0 win over Bob Learn Jr., his roommate.
Yeah, I asked him, I said, was it tough to bowl against Bob Learn? And he said, Randy? Okay, he said, Randy, when I bowl, it doesn't matter who it is, I show no mercy. He says, but obviously after the match, we're still going to be friends. Sorry about the bad Amleto imitation.
You saw the career match play record. Try to improve on that today in Vegas. Pocket.
Shin yum, brother. Shin yum.
I'm not really sure what that means, but I will tell you this, that Patrick Allen practiced a lot during the summer, and he used regionals as a tune-up for the tour because the regionals use a lot of the same patterns we use on the PBA Tour. And Patrick Allen actually won 3 regional titles this summer on this same pattern.
And Amleto just bowled in a regional.
Just bowled in a regional prior to the start of this tournament in this building, and Amleto won.
That's on the other side of this huge bowling complex with casino action right in the middle. 106 total lanes at the Castaways. 7-pin. Watching it via ESPN in sync. So very good endorsement for regional play, and you hear Walter and Williams talk about that quite a bit. He's in Florida in the off season, and he and Paige are not traveling around in their motorhome, and bowls a lot of those southern regional events, which are stock full of talented players.
And just a quick difference between the regional tour and the PBA tour. Patrick won 3 times on that pattern. This year, 3 times on the pattern out on tour. He got as far as the top 6.
Randy, last week we had the major at the ABC Masters in Reno. Next week, the U.S. Open. Back to our 12:30 Eastern start time. We'll have for the rest of the PBA season all the way through the PBA World Championship at Taylor Sportsplex, Taylor, Michigan, outside Detroit. It's a 3rd of 4th majors. Fountain Valley next week. This is a very unusual start time for us, 4:30 Eastern. So lock us in, 12:30 Eastern, the rest of the season starting next Sunday here on ESPN.
Talked to him a little bit about any changes that he's made. And he said, yeah, I did it right prior to coming into Boulder Regional. He said he really tried to be smoother at release. He's used to really hitting it, really grabbing a handful and hitting it at the bottom. He said, all I tried to do was just make my release much smoother. Wins the regional on a completely different condition than we bowled on for the PBA event, or the tour event, I should say. And here he is on a completely different pattern. He says he can now control the bowling ball. He can make it do what he wants it to do.
So he's had to overcome his family being in Venezuela during that horrific national strike. There's no end in sight for that. He's very worried about his wife and son back home. Paralyzer. Stays up.
The old frozen 5 and an out of range.
5-pin Amuleto. His wife Teresa and Amuleto Emmanuel back home in Venezuela. He was home there for a little while during the winter break after the Tournament of Champions. Didn't compete in that and was able to come back, but still very nervous about what's going on back home. There's the legend. Don Johnson lives nearby here in Las Vegas. 26 career titles. One in the Showboat event back in '71.
One of the best coaches ever. He got me to a title in 1990. His son Jimmy Johnson, a member of the Storm Pro staff and touring professional.
Back to Allen. Help with a 10.
Well, this ball's going to drift a little bit high, and Patrick Allen's going to get some nice carry. Trips out the 6-7-10. Maintaining his 22, or with a strike, I should say, will increase his lead to 22.
Watching with ESPN in sync. Pocket. Patrick Allen has 5 strikes in his first 6 frames.